I've got a confession to make.
Oh, that seems like a great place to start.
I've been unfaithful. I've cheated on you.
Have you been on another podcast?
I have been on another. I was a guest on another podcast
Fuck you and the horse you rode in on.
just yesterday, and the curious thing about it was that the host didn't interrupt. Nor did he talk about bottoms at all.
Okay.
And I was a bit discombobulated by this. I thought, this isn't a podcast. This is not what happens on podcasts.
Question: the podcast to which you refer, was it
About productivity,
was it about
about Italian pronunciation of ice cream.
I figured it was it about tech of some description?
No, actually, no. It was about I have expertise in other areas.
Okay, now it's a good job I'm sitting down because this is coming as a shock news to me. Go on.
Well,
what was it?
It was actually about embodiment.
Did you hear the crickets?
Yeah, I think it would have been better if we talked about bottom embodiment. Embodiment. Oh, you really will have to. That's a bad joke.
I will. I'll cut that.
Thank
out. No, that will be just like the stinger at the end. So on this podcast that you were on, you were the expert. You were brought in, or is it a kind of a conversation between peers?
Yeah, I think it's been a work thing, and so another choreographer had asked. Embodiment is quite a complex thing, and also it's a little bit it's a bit messy to talk about. It's really hard to talk about.
It is, yeah, I bet, especially when you're talking about something which is you're in an audio medium, trying to talk about something which is kind of entirely haptic and physical.
Exactly. But yeah, I felt like an expert, not an expert in embodiment, but an expert in talking into a microphone when I'm not really.
Yeah.
Although the curious thing about this was, of course, was that I felt like I had some clues about what that's something I'd researched and thought about, not in preparation for the.
No. As in that's your job.
Yeah. Exactly. So
So-
about my cheating lying self.
Hey, listen, if I want unfaithful listeners, I sure as shit want to have an unfaithful co-host.
Well, you got one.
This is a podcast in which two friends have serious conversations about silly things and silly conversations about serious things.
I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller.
Welcome to Midlifing.
I did not go on a podcast this week. I made croissant yesterday,
Oh,
last night.
did they turn out?
Oh, they are good. Homemade croissant. Telling you.
Yeah, but it is. I guess it's a good time of year to make them, isn't it?
Well, we're in lockdown 3.0. There is nothing else to do except keep rolling out your dough and giving it a half fold every hour on the hour for the best part of a day.
And do you feel like you're a bit of an expert at keeping the butter inside the boundaries of the pastry, the dough?
The method that I use, which is from a London-based bakery called Bread Ahead, they did a lot of Instagram baking videos during the first lockdown, and it is incredibly easy to follow.
And how are the layers? The layers.
The lamination.
The
You mean
lamination.
the lamination. Let's use proper baker terminology.
Yeah.
You know the words. I know the words. Let's not patronise our listeners.
Embodiment, lamination. What an episode this is. Actually,
no.
I just remembered what I was going to say, which is I thought that maybe, I was going to say I did a podcast about embodiment, and you're going to say, oh my God, that's what we were going to talk about this week. But no, that's maybe not the case.
No, we're not. So today is my go
Yes.
to pitch. And we've got hanging over us the cloud that is shame. I remember I used to do taekwondo when I was a kid.
No.
Yeah.
We could talk about embodiment in relation to taekwondo.
Taekwondo is probably one of the reasons that I've got quite open hips, because I had a teacher who used to stand. I would sit in what I now understand as Baddha or butterfly pose or cobbler's pose. For those of you who are not up to speed with their They're Sanskrit names for yoga poses. And he would stand with his foot on either knee and press my legs down.
I've seen all that. That's you're just talking about ballet there. Oof.
It was full on. But I used to be taken there by David Anderton's mum, and David Anderton was also doing taekwondo, and I think his younger sister also did.
David wasn't your friend who you watched the horror movie with, was it?
No, that was... Nice try. Nice try. Nope. So his mum, we'd go and do taekwondo, and she would go to the local swimming baths and have a swim while we were in the taekwondo class, and then we would be driven back home. And she was really cross with David this one particular evening. And she said, I told you to go upstairs and get me a towel from the airing cupboard so that I would have something to dry myself with after my swimming. And he said, I got you a towel. She said, you got me a hand towel. It wasn't big enough to cover my shame. And I just thought it was...
You remember that?
I just remembered that just now. Because I don't know where it came from, but just the idea of something not being big enough to cover my shame. But it was a beautiful turn of phrase.
But also...
Yeah. And I was thinking about this walking the dog, thinking that, shame is this big cloud on the horizon that's coming towards us. Nobody really benefits from having shame, do they? Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, oh, I'm so glad that I've not been able to let go of that thing that I did 5 years ago.
So I think this might be useful, and I've got a couple of things to say. Which one's more... Yeah, I'll go with this one. So Brene Brown is... I think she was a social worker, and then she did a PhD, and she talks about her research quite a lot. But she has a Netflix special, and what's really pretty amazing about her, it's really clear that she really is a good storyteller. Like, she's able to look at the kinds of things she's learning in a research setting, and then tell stories about it in a quite remarkable way, blending them with personal experience, and so people are really into her. She's next level podcasting.
Yeah.
And
what we aspire to be.
No, we don't.
Oh, okay. We aspire to be this level podcasting?
Yeah. We are.
Okay,
we
good.
are exactly where we are.
Where we need to be.
Anyway, she says, Brene Brown says, talking about shame and guilt, that shame is something we are or think of ourselves as being, and guilt is something we've done, and that the difference is vital in relation to how we experience those two things. And I wonder what you think about that in terms of, like you said, something I did 5 years ago, or something we did, however. Because I could certainly rattle off a number of things I've done, which I'm guilty of doing. But the shame part is, I think, how they feed into what I think about myself.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful way of negotiating that difference between guilt and shame. Because guilt is something that you can be absolved of, isn't it? I mean, there's a religion based upon it. You were baked in that religion. The idea of going in and
laminated. I was laminated in that religion.
But going in and saying, oh, I've done these bad things and I need forgiveness. You can have forgiveness if you do these puzzles. It's like a Rubik's Cube for the soul. I might not have understood the principle very well, but let's pretend for a second.
I think the Catholic Church could have let's call it a Renaissance if they
That's shady on so many levels, because the Renaissance didn't go well for the Catholic Church the first time around. Actually, that's not true, is it? Because I'm confusing there the Renaissance and the Reformation, so I'm being a little bit of a dick.
Yeah.
Although the Renaissance still didn't.
You could have said it either way, and I would have remembered. I just knew there was something funny about using the word Renaissance with the Catholic Church.
Well, the Renaissance and the Reformation are deeply intertwined, even though I think the Renaissance kicks off a little bit before the Reformation. And one is about culture and one is about religion. There's historians now sharpening their pencils to drive deeper into their ears so they don't have to listen to me do a piss-poor Wikipedia version of history. I've given my career to learning more about Enlightenment.
Wikipedia turned 20 years old the other day, and
Wow.
Everything I've read about it in relation to the internet, it's clear that it's a massive success story. Like, it's extraordinary. If you think about how quickly social media just became corrupted and totally ruined by its own desires, and the inability of people to kind of curb their capacity to show their fucking pieces of croissant on a Saturday morning.
As academics, and I know we're not supposed to talk about work, but I think it is
self-imposed regulation.
The received wisdom for undergraduate students is don't use Wikipedia as a source because it's not peer-reviewed. But it is such an incredibly rich and generous space.
And rigorous.
I love Wikipedia. So maybe today's takeaway for me is I'm going to stop using Wikipedia as shorthand for shallow.
No, it's just not.
Anything but.
It's anything but shallow. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's remarkable how few people contribute to it. Like, if you think of how massive it is, like there's some, they're sort of, come kind of, I want to call them super contributors, that word super in front of, anything these days. But, people who have spent extraordinary periods of their lives just tinkering away and editing and re-editing and having someone else edit. And it's an extraordinary process of humans just pushing and pushing and pushing gently. I mean, of course, it's had its moments when... But very rare, very rare.
And as you say, how quickly social media has become a platform for...
cesspit.
A platform for cesspits.
Sorry, I wasn't finishing your sentence.
I quite like it.
I interrupted late.
I know. I like the idea it's a platform for cesspits. Anyway.
Well, it's not unrelated, I think, because it's to this conversation that we are trying to find our feet with, which is it's that versions of ourselves, isn't it, thing? Like, this is I don't post photographs. Well, I don't any longer have an account, but if I did, I wouldn't be posting photographs of something not big enough to hide my shame, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very well-worn and very obvious thing to say, but it's the facade, the superficial nature of it in terms of the richness and the messiness and the shameful aspects of our lives. It's it's just so performative, and but I think we're mixing up. Well, maybe we're mixing up to shame others.
I'm not sure that shame is something that is ever cultivated individually. I think it's something which is given to us in a variety of ways, and that we carry. We absolutely carry it, but it's cultural, isn't it? It's contextual. We are the recipients of information that results in the generation of shame within us.
Yeah, particular
because
story.
We have to be told that is something to be ashamed about.
Again, if I think of instances where I've been culpable, a couple come to mind, and I can't really describe them because they fill me with such dread. I wish yeah, and so I can't even say what they are. I mean, it's not that I haven't told people about them. Of course, people were in the situation, so that we're effectively on the receiving end, you might say. And in fact, it's not important.
No, I was going to say, I just wanted to interrupt you. And one of the things that we've always been really clear about is that we're not trying to use these conversations as a space for kind of an ersatz version of therapy.
Oh, yeah.
So actually... telling
it's
us
irrelevant.
What they are.
It's irrelevant.
Exactly
that.
Totally it doesn't matter what the story is.
If I think about how I've held on to those stories, I can say I was guilty, or that I feel guilt for having done those things, right? But it's actually the way they have infected me is bigger than the guilt of having done them. It's the promise, no, not the promise, the possibility or the sense that they reveal a version or an aspect of myself that is, let's say it, shameful. Because we're all, in various instances and in various ways, living with versions of or shameful aspects of our lives. Yeah. Or the aspects of ourselves that are that we might describe as being, and they're by necessity mostly hidden, because you need a big towel, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what I'm getting at, except there's just something about how is it that one just gently lives with those various versions of ourselves, which fascinates me. Talk about a lifelong task to do today, Monday, to do. Deal with shame.
Well, I'm 5 days into a new regime of dealing with shame.
Are you? A regime?
I am. It is in the sense that I encountered an idea in the most ridiculous of spaces. So there's a there's a TV show on Apple Plus called Ted Lasso.
I can't believe you watched Ted Lasso. It's such a great show, but it's just like
It's so not me.
It's so not you.
It's so
There
not
are
me.
no
But-
zombies.
No, I know, but so the conceit for the show, who for anybody who doesn't know, is that there's an American football coach is employed by a British British football association football team in the Premier League, but at the kind of towards the bottom of the league, close to relegation.
A fake club called
A
Richmond
fake club.
Football Club.
And he is employed ostensibly to turn their fortunes around. But the owner has employed him to try and actually drive the club into relegation and therefore obscurity. That's all sort of played out in the first sort of 15 minutes of the show. I'm not giving away spoilers. And I think there's 10 episodes where it plays out. But
How far through are you? Just out of curiosity.
oh, I finished.
All right.
I mainlined that show in a day. I sat down and by episode 7, I've never been more invested in football in my life.
I also love just how I just can only imagine how few of the kind of cross-code football jokes you would have actually understood. Like there must have been half the script that just went way over your head.
I watched this show, totally fell in love with it.
How did you? Wait, can I just? I know you're going to finish the story eventually, but
I will.
how did you hear about it, and what made you?
Okay.
Yeah, because it seems like it.
So-
like I mean, I watched it in the summer,
It's-
and there's no way
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought,
yeah.
hey, Lee. There's no way I
Yeah.
was thinking, well, Lee, you should watch this.
It's an unexpected turn of events. So what happened was Bob had a deadline that she had to meet. And I had finished my work for that particular day, and I knew that Bob would be working until late into the night. I don't like to go to bed if Bob's not in bed. It makes me sad because I like a cuddle. So I like to go to bed at the same time as Bob. So I wanted to stay up. And I knew I didn't want to watch anything that we were watching together.
And you had to find something
So
else.
I knew I needed to watch something that she would never want to watch. And so I basically picked the last thing on the TV that I would want to watch.
And how long into the first episode did you think?
About 12 minutes.
Really?
About 12 minutes into the first episode, and then I was like, oh, well, I'm finishing this today. It was lovely. Anyway, there was something that I think Ted Lasso says, that for him, the most important thing to do was to meet people with curiosity, not with judgment. It was such a clear and achievable offer. Meet people with curiosity, not with judgment. And I realised that I meet or have been meeting people with judgment and without curiosity.
I hope you're
Not
about
exclusively.
to apologise to me.
No, I think you deserve to be judged. You're probably the only person who I'm not going to change.
I'm the
her
exception
strategy.
to your new regime.
You're the exception that proves the rule. But that idea for
I
me,
love being an exception. So.
it feels transformative. It feels like a way that
Wow.
because if you apply it to other people, you also have to apply it to yourself. Because if you can't, I'm going to now just to sort of swing from one extreme to the other. To quote RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen up in here? And this is where you would say amen.
Yeah, you just have to insert that. You have to pretend you're me. You want to record it now? Do you want to record a antipode and amen so you can insert it? Have a go.
Amen.
Sorry, let's do it again, but I won't laugh quickly so that you get a nice, easy edit for it.
Amen.
I love that you. Also, you did that
true.
that great thing where
I
you
promised I was going to use my Australian accent for the entirety of this recording, but
I forgot too.
I totally forgot.
Yeah, but everything would become a question. I feel good.
I can't do it because I'm laughing. I told Bob that I was going to do a really bad Australian accent, and she said, "You're going to need to watch Home and Away again." I said, "Strike me,
Strike me pink. Can I, if I pull the knot by approaching people with curiosity and not judgment.
Mm.
Is it that you're saying that there's part of shame is a judgment of the self?
I think for me, it is. It comes from that place where I'm considering myself not to measure up, where I think that I'm culpable in a way that I can't resolve, all those sorts of things.
I was going to ask, what value does shame have? Like, how is it, for want of a better word, functional or useful?
I'm not sure that shame is a useful emotion. I think guilt is, because I think you can actively work, because that's culpability, isn't it? I did this thing,
Yeah,
and that's resulted in these actions, and
I shouldn't have done that thing.
I shouldn't have done that thing. Guilt, in order for it to kind of dissipate, you sort of need to do something with it. I think apologies are great, aren't they? You know, you just kind of go, oh, shit, I'm sorry. That wasn't what I meant to happen. Or I know you asked me to do this thing and I've not done it and I feel bad about
I've
that.
let you down.
Yeah, exactly. And
I can understand why I've let you down. It's the expression of understanding, isn't it?
It's something that you are exquisitely good at.
Mm.
You're really good at apologising.
It's because I've had a lot of practice.
Yeah, but I think I could just laugh along with you there because it is funny because it's true.
I love how you did. I love how you did that. You didn't, and then you did.
No, because it is true, and I have sat with you. I sat with you at a table where somebody.
Oh, no.
Because it's beautiful. It is beautiful. No, I won't. I'll cut it out. But I'm going to remind you. We were at the Curator at the bottom of town having lunch, and
I don't remember the story yet.
A guy called Jimmy came over and was talking to us, and he was saying, "Oh, and it's Johnny's birthday soon, and we're gonna have a surprise party for him. Don't let him know." And I was like, "Yeah, great." And he said, "Are you free?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm free. Jimmy goes away. Not long after, Johnny comes up. Sits down at the table and you say, "What's this about a party?" And the moment where Johnny just looks at you and goes, "I think, Simon, that's a surprise party that I'm not supposed to know about."
He did it
so beautifully, but then it led to you talking about your nickname.
Did I mention that?
Yeah, can we share it with the?
My nickname is Clunk. I've been called Clunk, which is the sound of people's. This is the sound of people's jaws hitting the ground because of something I've said. I totally forgot that you knew that.
I know. But I think what's beautiful is I know you just said I'm good at apologising because I've had a lot of practice. But I also think that I know other people who could equally earn the nickname Clunk.
Super Clunk.
I'm not trying to. Super Clunk. Mega Clunk.
Uber Clunk. Coming to
the
live.
Clunkmeister.
The Clunkmeister.
So there's lots of people who could earn the title Clunk, but they haven't learned how to say sorry the way you have.
Hmm.
So I think there's something transformative about that idea of guilt.
I think to me it's that I guess I said it before or hinted it before, which is the recognition, the understanding of what has happened. Yeah. So the apology has no if, meaning I'm sorry if. Which is those are quintessential apologies these days, aren't they? I'm sorry if you were offended.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you're saying. You're accusing them of being too easily offended.
Yeah, that seems to be all that public apologies are now.
Yeah. It's the if. There's no understanding of what's gone on. I mean, I really like that the thing what you're saying about curiosity. It's so. I mean, and we've definitely touched on this before, isn't it? Which is. It's easy in most contexts, but there are some contexts where how is it that you approach the person who might inscribe the letters TRUMP on the back of a manatee? Like, what kind of curiosity?
To go to the kind of the storming of Capitol Hill, to talk about the insurrection that happened on the 6th of January, I was definitely in a place of explicit judgment.
Yeah, you were livid.
Yeah, I think now, with a little bit of distance and also the recognition that there's probably more value to me as a human being to ask a question than to make a statement.
Mm-hmm.
In the last couple of days, I can feel the difference cognitively and emotionally, catching myself when I'm leaping to judgment and going, hang about. Why do you think that might be the case? Not why might I be judging. I'm judging because of 47 years of going, what a fucking arsehole! Stab him! Not quite what I say, but that's the shorthand version of a not particularly longer thought process. So I think I can ask myself the question. I think I can meet that with curiosity. Like, why would you need to do that? What's the benefit? What happens? What are the circumstances in that person's life that leaves them feeling so either powerless to be heard or so entitled that is a legitimate response to being?
It's really, the nature of curiosity is just so really beautiful, because it does imply that loaded into the word is the capacity to ask questions, and to go, well, what is that? What is going on here? And it's so profoundly different from the hyper presence of the need to have an answer.
Yeah.
And I think if we're talking about shame and its profound effect on how we travel through the world, how each of us travels through the world, then how is it that I become curious about my shame? What is that? And that's curiosity without judgment. Boy, that's, hard. Ooh.
Oh, really hard. And it's not a switch that is flicked. It's not an overnight change. But I think just to start to say, why am I feeling that way? Why am I giving myself that hard a time about something that I've been carrying for 20 years? Did I do anything in the moment or thereafter to try and make amends? Did I do something to try and shift the narrative in the moment? If the answer is yes, then I think I shouldn't be holding on to this any longer. If the answer is no, did I learn anything from the experience and did I try to change? And if the answer is yes, okay, I should probably let that go. If the answer is no, if I am repeating the same patterns of 20 plus years, I probably need to do some work on myself. And maybe that will help turn down that clanging of shame in my ears. And, I'll let you know how it goes. I'll let you all know how it goes. I don't think that we have really been talking about shame today. And I think that tells us, you and me, Simon, everything that we need to know, which is that we are always at the edge of our expertise when we're talking about things, because we never talk about. You started today telling us that you cheated on me with another podcast, and that you were talking about your genuine research expertise,
yes.
Something that you are actually studied in, something we have never talked about, something that we have actively avoided talking about, and I think we are at the edges of our capability, and this is a moment where you just go, I'm not sure if there is anything useful to be added or to be said.
Yeah, I think that would frustrate me as a listener. But
if we try to fix it, or if
I
general?
think that edge is okay, because in a way that's what we're all doing all the time, is we're grappling and wrestling with ideas and the things that are happening in our lives and the lives of other people around us.
So I was talking to my mum earlier this week. We were talking about legacy. She said,
do you spring conversation starters just to test them out for midlife?
I do. I like to say, so Mum, how do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, Mum.
She said, well, I've got 2 hand mixers that are still in the box, so that's something for you to look forward to when I'm dead. I said, do you think that's what I'll be looking for? Small domestic appliances? Well, you never know. Good. That's great.
You've just reminded me when, after my dad died, my mother quite quickly, I mean, I'm not minutes, but days, rang up Sky to cancel the subscription, thinking, I don't need this now. And the young man on the other end of the phone said, that's fine. And can I ask you why you want to cancel your subscription? And my mother says, well, my husband died. And there's this lovely pause. And the guy goes, I don't have an item for that.
Oh, what a sweetie.